another episode of the CattleUSA Daily Podcast. Happy Thursday, y'all. I am so excited to come on today and talk to you guys about something that gets a little deeper into the weeds on topics that we cover and stuff like that. But today we're discussing, do your kids really want to come back to the ranch? And if they don't, maybe here are some reasons why. Or we're just honestly today, y'all, we're having a real honest conversation about if you've ever worried about your kids walking away from that legacy that you have built. We're going to be talking about that today. This episode is for you, and we're going to be breaking down a lot of thoughts and concerns that this next generation of agriculture is facing in today's day and age, and all of the things like that. A lot of it goes back to some generational disconnect that we are experiencing on ranches and stuff like that. I've shared a little bit about my personal story before, but to just give all of you guys a little bit more background, I grew up on a multi-generational cow-calf operation in Northeast Kansas. And when it came time, high school came around, and it came time for me to start deciding what I wanted to do after high school and with my future, I wanted absolutely nothing to do with agriculture. I looked at the ranch and I said, peace, I want nothing to do with you. Goodbye. Sayonara. Not for me, right? So I graduated high school a semester early. Like, I really wanted to get the heck out of Dodge, right? And it wasn't just the ranch. It was also just, I was ready to move on to my next phase of life. But I was ready to go. And so I went up to Nebraska to a medical college and started med school there, and got about 2 years in and decided, nope, I'm burnt out of this. This is not for me. Trying to figure out what I wanted to do next with life. Thought I wanted to be a teacher for about a semester. It took me a semester to figure out that I really love kids, but not necessarily other people's kids. Okay. There's a difference. There really is. And then after that, I transferred and decided I wanted to go back into ag. So that took me about 3.5 years to figure out that I wanted a future in agriculture again. 3.5 years, 3 different degree plans, and 3 different colleges for me to figure out that, you know what, I actually do want to come back. I do want to be a part of our operation. And I feel like so often in today's day and age, we either need quick decisions made by the next generation, or we don't give room for that grace for them to leave and then come back. And so I want to take some time with you guys today to kind of break down some different stigmas that we see and different things that I've experienced personally, and just kind of divulge all of that. So the first and foremost thing, this is something that I hear all too often, and that it is, this generation is lazy. And although there are certain situations that I would say that you are correct, there are other situations, this one in particular, that I would disagree. So it's not about the workload for these kids. Like, I can promise you that. We're ranch kids. We grew up doing this. We grew up in this way of life. It is not about the workload. It is the fact that in agriculture, and especially just in my generation personally, I have a lot of friends that feel overwhelmed, they feel burnt out, or they just feel unseen on their family's operations. It is a lot of really hard work, and if you're not doing something that lights your soul on fire, it can be really easy for that burnout, for that sense of overwhelm, and all of those other things that come along with it to creep into life. I also want to talk about within this like area right here, right? How are you as parents? How are you as the generation that is handing it down to the next generation, presenting the ranch and the ranching operation to that next generation? Is it a big stressor in your guys' life? Are you like having a lot of fear-based mindset around it? Or are you in an opportunity-driven mindset? Are you looking at your kids and saying, I cannot wait for all of the ideas and innovations and knowledge that you are going to gain throughout your lifetime to be able to bring that back to this ranching operation and make it better? Opportunity driven right there, right? Or are we in a fear-based mindset of, the cattle market really is never going to get better. The ranching way of life is gone. No cowboys left. No one does it this way anymore. how are you presenting things? Because if you're presenting it from a fear-based mindset, I can tell you right now, I don't want to come back to that. Or in my situation, I'm going to leave and then have to realize for myself that I needed to come back and that there was some fear-based mindset in my childhood and stuff like that. And rightfully so. Ranching is hard, y'all. And I grew up with it. Like, I know firsthand, because of coming from a ranching family, that's all we did was ranch. I knew firsthand what it was like to pinch pennies when the markets were bad. I knew firsthand all the stress and anxiety and depression and everything else that came with that way of life, which there is an aspect that you need to realize that there's the reality of the ranching way of life. But then I think that we need to check ourselves sometimes and be like, are we providing opportunity-driven mindsets to be had in this operation and for that next generation? A lot of times, there's also unrealistic expectations that are being set for that next generation. And I think that goes down to a lack of real honest conversations being had as far as places, roles, responsibilities, all of that stuff goes. I think it's important that we need to understand how that next generation wants to move forward in their personal lives, but then also move forward within the whole realm of agriculture as well, right? So I think it's really important that we provide some flexibility and some openness within that. The next thing I want to talk about is culture over career. So what's the emotional culture of your operation? Is there joy? Is there respect? Is there a vision for the future? Or are we in a mindset of resentment, pressure, and maybe you're saying, because we've always done it this way, which is my least favorite line in the whole world. Like, that just grinds my gears when I hear that, okay? Like, that's like a parent saying, because I told you so. It doesn't get anyone anywhere. No one is learning. No one is growing because of that answer, right? So when you're looking at your operation, are you guys having fun? Are you enjoying yourselves? Because at the end of the day, this is a way of life that takes everything in our heart and soul to be able to continue to do. And if there's not joy and happiness and just an overall sense of like emotional well-being, hell, I don't want to go hang out and do that for the rest of my life. And can you blame your kids and the next generation if they don't? That's not fair for you to sit there and say, you need to come back and do this. If you don't, it dies with you. Don't ever say that. That's not fair. Absolutely not. More than anything, I hope that you guys care about the mental and emotional well-being and overall happiness and fulfillment of your children or your next generation more than you do anything else. And you know what? If that means there's a non-familial succession that happens within a ranching operation because the kids don't want to come back, then I think that it's time that some people need to accept that. And they need to be okay with that and acknowledge that, you know what? Our succession plan might look a little different. And that's okay. If our kids don't want to come back, that's okay. But what you can do right now is you can nip that in the butt right here, right now. You can look at your operation and be like, okay, if we're working cows and we're not having fun, what do we need to be doing to change that? What do we need to be doing when we're in the middle of calving season and everyone is at their wits' end and we all kind of want to just be away from one another? We're tired of one another, right? What can we do to bring joy back in? What can we do to bring happiness and a sense of fulfillment and a sense of appreciation back into that? Okay? Because that's one way that you can just take a real 360 right there, right? And really start to turn it around. The legacy of a ranching operation can feel like a massive, massive burden, especially to that next generation that's going to be taking over that operation. You have got to allow for room within that operation for individual growth with everyone that's involved, whether it be kids, grandkids, siblings, spouses, whatever, individual growth and new ideas. You've got to allow room and space for those. Because if there's not, then those individuals aren't being heard, they're not being seen, and they are going to grow to resent the cattle operation or the ranch or the farm or whatever it may be for you. Your kids don't want your land. They want your way of life, but only if it is a life worth living. Really sit with that for a second. Your kids do not want your land or your cattle. They want your way of life, but only if it's one worth living. So are you living a life right now that is one that is worth living? Be honest with yourself. Are you looking at it? Take off your rose-colored glasses, look at your life and be like, if I was a 20, 25-year-old, 30-year-old, would I want to come back to this? Does this look fun? Does this look like I'm enjoying myself? Do I look fulfilled? Am I living out my dreams? And if you're not, I think it's time to start reevaluating. So, what can be done? What can we do? Kind of just shared a little bit right there in the nipping that in the butt, but here's some other super duper practical ways that we can continue to grow and evolve on our individual operations. First things first, real, honest conversations with no judgment need to start being had. Whether that be around the dinner table or whether it be in the vet barn and decisions are being made in the middle of calving season, or maybe you're trying to figure out breeding decisions for next year. Real and honest conversations need to start being had on an emotional and sociological standpoint, but then also on an operational standpoint. Individuals need to have say and need to feel like their voice is being heard in these operational decisions in order for them to feel like they have a place to come back to. The next thing, openly share financials and succession plans. And that might start with having a conversation about a succession plan. Maybe you don't have a current succession plan in place and you need to have a conversation about that. But then next, you need to openly share financials. I hate it when people come to me and they have absolutely no idea what is going on with financials in their business. It is the biggest sign of business health is healthy finances, or at least someone who's got the finances under control and they know what's going on. We are in an industry that finances are all over the place. And as an individual who works with and is friends with other producers who are in a phase of life of starting to come back to operations, seeing the books for the first time can be really overwhelming and really scary sometimes. And I grew up where my dad had me take out the receipt box during tax season and organize the receipts and tally them up and then categorize them, tally them up so that we could send it to the accountant and get our taxes and all of that stuff figured out, right? So I was very well aware of finances at a really young age. I've been on the financial accounts for a really long time and all of that stuff. So I see it. And I also am friends with people who don't see it. And as an adult, coming back and seeing cash flow and operational standpoints in the finances can be really, really stressful. So be open about it right now. Just start having those conversations because they're hard, they're tough, they're uncomfortable. But if you start having them now, trust me, it's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier as you continue to go down the line. The next thing is I want you all to invite innovation in. Let them dream of their own version of ranching. And it might not look like your version of your dream and your version of ranching, and that's okay. It's scary, it's hard, but it's okay. We have got to allow people to dream a dream that they want to sit there and be like, I see this vision in this future for this operation, and I am excited about it. I'm going to bring all of these awesome things in. And you know what? With that, let them fail. Let the next generation fail a little bit. Because there are certain things that we can sit around and we can learn from our parents. But there are some things, unfortunately, that we also have to learn on our own. And it's not easy to sit back and say, you know what, I'm going to give you this portion and I'm going to relinquish that control. And if you succeed, I'm going to be here to cheer you on. And if you fail, I'll be here to pick you up. And you're not going to cast any judgment either way because of it. Invite innovation in and let the people in your operation dream of something more, of something bigger. Because dreamers are doers. Allow them to innovate and dream. The next and final thing is allow them space to leave and then want to come back. This goes into my personal story that I shared at the beginning, right? My family allowed me the space to leave. They even encouraged it. My dad was my biggest cheerleader on that. But then they gave me the space to also want to come back. And when we were doing succession planning in 2018, I pretty much said, hi ho, peace out, get me out of here. I don't want anything. Leave it all to my brother. I don't even because financially he would never be able to buy me out of my half. And so I was like, nope, just leave it all to him. I don't want any of it. Right now in 2025, I'm like, nope, we're revisiting this trust. Right. And we did last year, we did revisit it as an individual who now wants, a piece of that legacy and stuff like that and a place to come back to. But you've got to allow kids space to leave and want to come back. Because you know what? There are some people that they might leave for 30 years. They might go get an inner city job or an ag adjacent job or a job in ag, but maybe not be on the ranch, right? And then in 10, 20, 30 years, maybe they have their own kids. Maybe they've started a different phase of life and they look at their life and they're like, you know what? I think I do want a piece of that. I want to come back. I want to be involved again. We've got to allow those individuals the space to do that and encourage them on whatever life journey that they are on in that point of time. Because if you don't encourage them and let them follow their dreams, no matter what that may be, they will grow to resent the ranch. They will grow to resent you and the ranching operation. And no one wants that. I think we've all have times in our lives that we can look back on and be like, yep, that was kind of a turning point for me. That is when the switch flipped for me, that I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I had that in my life. I had those moments that I was like, this isn't for me. But then I also, as an adult, had that moment again where I was like, I do want this. This is where my heart is. This is where my passion is. And you know what? It's going to look different for me. My husband and I don't have cows right now, and that's okay. I still am very involved in my parents' operation, but it's going to look different. And I want it to. I don't want an operation like I grew up on, but I still want to have cows. I still want to be involved. I'm still going to be an advocate. And you know what? That's okay. Everyone's path is going to look different, and you have got to let them find it on their own terms and be that supportive partner for them during that journey. So as we start to round out this podcast today, I want to remind all of you that it is not too late to build a ranch that the next generation wants to return to. I want to challenge all of you to do one proactive thing from this today. Maybe for you, it's have one honest, judgment-free conversation with your kids about what they see their future looking like. And I want you to frame it that way. What do you see your future looking like? What do you want your future looking like? Not, do you want to come back to the ranch? Do you want a piece of this? Are you going to carry on our legacy? No. Judgment-free, open and honest conversation about what that next generation wants for their lives and their future. And if it's ranching, awesome. That is so exciting. Start working to set them up for success there. And if it's not, that's amazing too. Let them do that. Let them go on their own journeys outside of ranching as well. And I pray and hope that you are going to be just as supportive no matter what their answer is. But it all starts with having a really, really difficult conversation first and foremost. Ranching is a legacy that we want to continue to pass on. But we cannot make this legacy about forcing footsteps. It is about building a path together with that next generation, and it's going to look different for every single individual. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the CattleUSA Daily Podcast. I hope you guys have an amazing Thursday and are able to just kind of take some of the stuff that we talked about today home and in your heart and really just absorb it, take it back to your family members. You know what? Maybe your hard thing that you do today is you send this to that next generation, or you send it to a spouse or something like this. Send them this podcast, and that can be the start of your conversation with them. And I hope that this is able to spark some really awesome, great things for you guys about just that next generation and what that looks like for all of you. So as always, please like, subscribe, rate, review. We really, really do appreciate it, and it helps us continue to grow. And we will see you all tomorrow on another episode. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see ya.